because I'm like doing research as a new agent. And I'm like, hey, man, I see everybody's using RNA. I see everybody's using Prosperity. Like, can I get contracted with them? And he would always be like, well, first you got to write at least like three to five applications. And I never understood why. I'm like, why are you guys holding these carriers like tight? Like, what is this, like a control move? You know what I mean? So ultimately, what his analogy was is it's like the barbecue sauce in aisle in Walmart. Like if you guys ever walk down the condiments aisle in Walmart, there's just like 20,000 barbecue sauces on the shelf. And you just want to like go and try each barbecue sauce. Like it would take way too long to sample every single sauce that's on the shelf. You know what I mean? And I just love that analogy just because I love barbecue, and he's right. I want to try them all. Like, but there's just not enough time of the day. I mean, you just kind of find one that works and you stick with it and just use it over and over, and then you perfect it and then maybe venture out. The biggest problem with using and spreading yourself thin with a bunch of carriers, it's the obvious elephant in the room. It's chargebacks, right? So some of these carriers will have very niche things, or maybe they're just a little bit competitive when it comes to pricing in comparison to the other carriers that we start with. So you don't want to necessarily just write one piece of business with a carrier just for a super minute reason, because if that policy does charge back, you don't have an existing pipeline for that carrier. It's just a specific kind of thing, right? So it would actually be more in your interest to stick with one carrier. Now, I'm realizing that after my 4th year doing this over the phone, the most successful life insurance telesales companies, they use one carrier. The most successful life insurance telesales companies use one carrier. Northstar, American Amicable, that's all they use, right? Assurance, they use Prudential and one other one, Lumico. So they're at 2, right? Anthony Martin, if you guys have been to our masterminds, Jeff kind of trained him on how to do websites and SEO back in the day when it was like really lucrative. And all he uses is Mutual of Omaha. Okay, so there's a reason for that. And honestly, I'm kind of kicking myself in the ass for even writing with up to 5 carriers, because it's harder for me to manage my book of business when I have to go through 5 different layers of support just to get my book of business. I mean, I would have just rather wrote with 2 carriers the whole time, because it's so easy to log into one carrier and just have your whole book of business that you want to manage right there with that carrier. Literally, it's just so easy. Other than that, price is literally like $2, maybe $5 off. Is it really better for the customer if you don't know the processes of the application because you want to try a new carrier, right? Just for that one time. And I've actually lost sales like that because I didn't know how an application process worked, and it's just awkward silence. You don't want to contract with a ton of carriers and spread yourself thin, because it's going to hurt in the long run. I promise you guys. So